Good afternoon. May it please the court. Lucie Heerman for petitioner, the state of California. The defendant's statement that he did not want to talk no more was not a clear and unequivocal invocation of his right to remain silent as determined in the case of Miranda versus the state of Arizona, and therefore his subsequent confession was voluntarily obtained and constitutes admissible evidence. The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution states in part that no person shall be compelled to, in any case, to be witness against himself. In the case of Miranda versus the state of Arizona in 1966, two rights were clarified which are protected under this amendment to the Constitution, and these rights are the right to remain silent and the right to counsel. In Kevin Jones's case, he was taken into custody by the Los Angeles Police Department on August 15, 2003, as he was identified as the main subject in a drive-by shooting case that had occurred days prior. Said shooting had resulted in one person dead and two others in critical condition. Before any questioning began, Detectives Jolivet and Fallon of the Los Angeles Police Department read the defendant his rights as established under Miranda, which were the right to remain silent in the face of custodial questioning, the fact that any statement that he said could and would be used against him in court, and his right to an attorney, which would be either attained or appointed. And after Jones was read his Miranda rights in full, he chose to waive both and immediately began answering the questions that were directed at him by the police detectives. And this constituted a knowing and intelligent waiver of his privileges under Law 641.4, and the actions of the police were in accordance with Law 412.2, which was that Jones waived his right and questions only began after he chose to waive his right.
So counsel, you say that the statement, "I don't want to talk no more, man," was unambiguous. Is that your position, just so I'm clear? Are you saying?
Yes.
Okay. And so, because it was unambiguous, why shouldn't the questioning have stopped right then and there?
I'm saying that the questioning, that the statement in question was ambiguous.
Okay, sorry.
Which is why this questioning was allowed to continue.
Okay, and so why isn't, in your mind, is that statement ambiguous?
That statement is ambiguous, both taking into context of how it was stated and also looking to the defense's awareness of the fact that the defendant read his Miranda rights, the fact that they acknowledged that he did waive his rights at the beginning, and that only after the statement do they consider that the confession that he made to be unadmissible in court, because they believe it was a clear indication of his rights as established under Miranda. According to Constitutional Law number 46, issues of admissibility taken during custodial interrogation are of constitutional dimension and must be determined by the courts in question. And looking to the standard upheld by the United States Supreme Court in the case of Edwards versus Arizona in 1981, they posited that consent to voluntarily relinquish any constitutional rights or privileges depends on the totality of the circumstances in question, which is why I, representing the petitioner, posit that the State of California Court of Appeals upheld that it was not an unambiguous invocation of the defendant's Miranda rights, and I believe, as representing the petitioner, that this standard should have been upheld.
What makes the statement that seems sort of clear on its face, what makes it ambiguous?
The statement can be considered to be ambiguous due to the context, because at that point Jones had been answering the police's questions for hours, and the statement was also immediately followed by, "You don't want to hear what I'm saying next." And I do recognize that there is a specific law that states that questioning must stop after either an invocation of Miranda rights, either one of the specified counsel or right to remain silent, or if the waiver that has been voluntarily given has been revoked, but the court has upheld that this was not an unambiguous invocation, and therefore questioning was allowed to continue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Respond whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May it please the court. Ian Blow for respondent Kevin Jones. The decision to affirm this court should affirm the decision to overrule the judgment in Jones versus Harrington. First of all, Jones' initial request that he did not want to talk no more was reasonably clear, and it was understood by the officer. And as such, it was an unequivocal and unambiguous invocation of his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Therefore, interrogation should have ceased.
So, counsel, the petitioner has argued that if we look at the statement in context, the trial court, which the trial court did, that it would be reasonable to conclude that it wasn't an unambiguous statement, that it lacked some clarity. And so what do you say in response to that argument, that we're permitted to look at context?
Well, I think that if you look at Supreme Court rulings in the past, two separate ones. First, Owen versus Florida, in Section 2. It says that for Miranda purposes, an unequivocal and unambiguous invocation of the right to remain silent is one articulated sufficiently clearly that a reasonable police officer in the circumstances would understand the statement to be a request to exercise his right to remain silent. In this case, Jones said, I don't want to talk no more, man. And the police officer's response was, I understand, but. Under this definition provided by Owen versus Florida, the police officer in the circumstances understood the statement. And therefore, that makes the statement an unequivocal and unambiguous invocation of the right to remain silent.
Did the officers, are they mandated to just sort of pack up and leave? Can they do nothing else in response? Which is to say, are they not permitted to ask any sort of follow-up clarifying questions?
Well, they would be able to ask follow-up clarifying questions. And in order to protect the right against self-incrimination, the interrogation must stop until the defendant, in an unfettered manner, exercises his free will to speak again. If they had asked him if he had wanted to continue speaking, then that would have been an unfettered expression of his own free will to continue speaking. But they did not ask him if he wished to continue speaking. They just asked him other questions regarding the case, and he continued to speak.
What about the fact that there wasn't a sort of question right away, that he said, I don't want to talk no more, man, and the next statement was, I understand that, but the bottom line is, and then he was interrupted with Jones saying, you don't want to hear what I'm telling you. So what about the fact that he didn't get a question out? So can we really say that there was an ongoing interrogation here before this sort of immediate interruption that cast doubt on whether he was really intending to invoke his right?
I believe that that is irrelevant because the officer stated that he understood his request, and so that means that because he understood it, interrogation should have immediately ceased. There should have been nothing should have continued after that point. Everything should have ceased. And because it did not cease, everything that came after that, I believe to be coercive in nature, as Miranda versus Arizona established that police interrogation rooms are psychologically intimidating. And so even though he continued to speak, he did invoke his rights, and everything that came after were coerced by further statements by the officer, and were not voluntary statements. And I call that, I want to talk about voluntariness because, as is stated in Shackloff versus Buston, Section 3, it says that voluntariness as applied to a confession cannot be taken to simply mean a knowing choice by a person with capacity for conscious choice. And that is because he may have knowingly said these statements, but it was in a coercive environment, and it was after his right to remain silent was not appropriately handled because the interrogation did not cease immediately after he.
But so every interrogation is inherently coercive. I think that was this court's finding in Miranda. So what made this particular interrogation involuntary in that way? We know it's coercive, but why would it have been so coercive so as to be involuntary? You can answer the question.
Because I think that it's because he invoked his right to remain silent, and as we established before, it is unequivocal and unambiguous because the officer did understand it, and so everything that he said after would have been in violation of that right. And the only reason that he continued speaking, because he did say that he knew that he had this right, but he did continue speaking because he was in this coercive environment. And so that's why I think there's an inadmissible.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
All right.